In this session, we are going to learn about Lambda functions in Python. Lambda functions are actually anonymous functions. That is, they don't have a name, but they can take any number of arguments and provide as a result. But another attribute of Lambda function is they can have only one expression. Okay, and they are basically a single line of code. Okay, so we can write the entire function in just one line. Let's see an example. So here on my screen, if you see, I have just given one line, lambda. So I'm going to print lambda, and then there is a variable x, colon x into x, and then in the bracket, I am passing 5. So if I run this program, it's going to return 25. Returning square of 5, which is 25. Let's see the syntax one more time. So it is lambda is what we used, and then we give any number of argument. For example, I can give x comma y. Okay, these are the arguments of that function. Give a colon sign, and then you can write the expressions. I can give x plus. That's it. That's the function. Okay? It takes these two arguments and it performs an operation on those arguments, which is plus. So x plus y. Unlike other function, there is no return keyword here. Okay, and if we straight away print, so let's say I want to print this lambda function, I can just give print, but I have to pass these two arguments also. The whole lambda function I can put in a bracket, okay, and then give another bracket and pass the argument like the 4 comma 5. These two arguments will go to that lambda function, and then we get the output as 9. All right. So that's what lambda function is. And just for the sake of making you understand, we can also assign this to a variable. That means instead of passing arguments like this, I can just give my function equals lambda x colon x into x. Okay. So if I want to, so this my function variable is acting like a function only. So now if I want to call this lambda, what I can do is I can just say print my function in the bracket, I can pass an argument. So if I do like this, it is going to go to this line number 1. I could call this lambda function and pass the argument 5. So the value of x will be 5. And then we get a result. See 25. So like this, we can write lambda functions in just one line. Okay. Now let's see. Let's write a few more examples. Um, I can write upper or just upr equals and write lambda and just accept a string, accept a string, and then I can convert this string into uppercase string dot upper. What will happen is this whatever string I'm passing to this function, it is going to make it uppercase. So let's say I'm calling this upr, which is here the name of that lambda function, and then pass a string hello. Now this will go to this lambda function, and the value of string will be hello, and the same string will be converted into uppercase. So let's run this function. And you see it has been converted into uppercase, right? That's what the lambda function is. Now, just to give you more clarity, let's write a function without using lambda. Okay, so I want to find a square of a number. So how do we do it without using lambda? So I have to create a function, right? I'm creating a sqr function and accessing a variable. Okay, and then I will return x into x. Then below, I can call this function print sqr, pass a variable 7. What will happen is it will call this sqr function, pass the value 7, and this function will receive this 7 in the variable x and return x into x. So now we get 49. Okay, so exact same thing. How can we write in lambda? Exact same thing. Okay, I'm giving sqr equals lambda x colon x into x. Okay, now I'm calling same thing print sqr 7. See, now if I run this, I'm getting 49, 49. So first method is what you are already aware of, which we can write a function and call. Second is the lambda function. All right, and now we can give an additional conditions over here. I can just say lambda x, and I can give, let's say I'm passing two values. Okay, let me remove this. Uh, let's say I want to find Maxwell, and I'm passing two variable x comma y, and in this here I am calling Maxwell and passing two parameters 7 comma 6. If you come to this lambda function, the value of x will be 7, value of y will be 6. And here I can write an if condition saying x, if x is greater than y, else y. Like this, we can write the function. It is going to return, see, check these two values, and if x is greater than y, else y. So this way we can write a if condition in lambda. So now you see I'm getting result 7 because 7 is greater than y, 7 is greater than x. Okay, now let's write another function. Okay, uh, let's say I have a list here. Okay, so I have numbers, and then I have some numbers 1 comma 5 comma 2 comma 8 comma 3. Right? These are the elements in these numbers. So I want to print all the numbers which is greater than 2. Okay, so what I will do is I will just accept lambda. um, I can accept lambda as x, and then I can give here the condition bracket I. Okay, for I in x, if I is greater than 1. Now what will happen is it is going to return those values of this x that I am passing here, right? So I'm going, when I call this Maxwell, I'm going to pass the entire list, right? Numbers. When I pass the entire list to this Maxwell, so the x is going to be a list numbers. So here I'm checking I for I in x. So I in x means first time I will be 1, second time I will be 5, and so on. Then it checks if I is greater than if I is greater than 1, only then it is going to store the value in Maxwell, else it will not store. So in this lambda function, I have an expression, then I have a for loop, and then I have an if condition. Okay, so if I run this program, I'm going to get the, okay, this is a list, so I have to convert this into a list, right? So print list of Maxwell of numbers. If I print it, I'm getting the result as 5283. So it has captured only those values which is greater than 1, right? So that's how we use lambda function. Okay, we have seen few of these examples. And other usage of lambda function is when we use map, filter, and reduce methods or functions in Python. There is where we use lambda function there as well. Now, for example, let's say I want to find the square list. Can give list of map. So you might have already seen my video on map, filter, and reduce. So if you haven't, please go through that so that you understand this section well. I'm trying to use map function, okay, and inside map function, I'm going to write lambda function, okay, lambda n colon n into 2, okay, and then passing a iterable. Let's say I'm passing 2, 3, 5, 6. So if you watch it carefully, this is the lambda function. Okay, lambda n colon n into 2 for this list. So for each and so map function will have map function has two arguments, right? One is the function, second is the iterable. So from here to here is the first element in the map. So map will call this function for each and every item and then store the result in the square list, right? So first it will pass 2, so the value of n is going to be 2, 2 into 2, 4, 4 will be stored in the square list. Then next it will pass 3, so 3 into 3, 3 into 2, 6, so 6 will be passed into this list and so on, right? So instead of writing a separate function to achieve this goal, we can make use of lambda function within a map function to make this coding easier, and we can achieve all this thing in just one line. Let's say if I give print square underscore list, I should get the um, whatever the all these values multiply by 2. Okay, it's not square, basically it is what it is. uh, it's just multiplication by 2 of these values. So this is how we can use lambda with map function. All right. And similarly we can use with the filter also. I can give here filter instead of map, and I can change the condition here. So n colon, I can give n percentage 2, okay, equals 0. Now what will happen is I'm using a filter function, right? So this is in this function, whenever it returns true, that value will be going and storing into square list. So first it will pass 2, so 2 percentage 2, remainder will be 0, right? So 2 will be going and storing into square list. Next is 3, so 3 percentage true, 3 divided by 2, remainder is not equal to 0. That means it is false. So 3 will not go to square list. Similarly, 5 will also not go to square list, but 6 will go. So that is a use of filter function, right? I mean, use filter function to filter out the values. Okay, filter out the values based on the result of this function. All right. Now let's see how we can achieve this goal. Okay, so we have a lambda function n and n percentage 2, okay, equal 0 comma, then we have given a list. Let's run this, and there is a syntax error. I've given filter list of filter of lambda. Okay, there is an extra comma here. All right. So now you see only even numbers are stored in the square list, right? So that is how we can use lambda function within filter function, right? In just one line, we're achieving that goal. Similarly, we can use reduce also. Okay, just use reduce instead of lambda, and then here we can give it will always accept two variable, right? The reduce will always accept first and second. So I'm giving x comma y, and then here in the expression give x plus y, then comma. So what will happen is, and for reduce, we have to import the func tools. Func tools import reduce. Right. So now what will happen? It will pass all these values one by one to reduce function, and then it is going to perform the addition of first and second value. So first time x will be 2 and y will be 3, and the result is going to be 5. And then it will pass 5 and 5, which will be 10, and then 10 and 6, 16. So finally, the square list will be having 16 as the result. Basically, reduce is a separate function, and I'm just trying to use lambda function within reduce so that we don't have to write a function outside. Okay, in just one line, we achieve that goal. All right, so since it is not a iterable, we don't have to convert this into a list. Straight away printed. So I'm getting 16 as the answer. I hope you understand. Let me this one particular example. Let me write it without using lambda. Okay, so I'm writing here function. Excuse me. You know, define writing function, and then here I'm capturing x comma y. Then I'm returning x plus y. So instead of using lambda function, what I can do is I can simply call. Let me not comment this so that you can see the difference. Now, line number 7, I'm going to achieve the same goal without using lambda function. Okay, so I'm giving reduce in the bracket. I'm giving func, and then the comma. I'm giving the list. 2 comma 3 comma 5 comma 6. So you see here, since reduce function accept two arguments, right? One is the function, second is the iterable. So now it is calling this function for each and every value, right? It will pass 2 and 3 first, and then remaining values, and finally we get the result 16, right? So without lambda, this is how we do. For that, we need to have a separate function outside. We have to create by using def keyword and all that. So instead of that method, we can use lambda function and achieve the same goal in just one line, right? So that's what reduce function is along with lambda. So these examples I have given you to make you understand the lambda functions. Okay. In general, lambda function is nothing but just one line of code where it has does not have any name. It accepts an argument and just prints the result of it. All right. So that's pretty much on lambda. Hope you have understood this session, and let me know in case you have any questions. Thank you.